after reading the very favorable reviews for Crouching Tiger, Squatting Dog, I went to the local theater and viewed this nightmare.
Oh my gosh. It's
not that bad.
Squatting Dog.
By the end of the movie, I was saying, what a stupid movie.
What? So you're just exclaiming this to the theater?
Yes. For a little while, the special effects were cool, but quickly got old and unbelievable. If they can hover like that, why don't they just live in the clouds?
That's a good point.
That was a 1-star review from IMDb. Hello and welcome everyone to a very special spoilers intended episode. I've butchered that.
Keep going.
Oh well, we're here now. That's right. We are spoilers. We are Spoilers Intended, a podcast about series and films.
Yep.
I'm Steven. That's Andrew.
Hi.
Ryan's over here.
I wish I could like float up above you guys and do the podcast.
Just to, like,
live in the clouds.
We
Yeah.
just need some bamboo.
That's the only thing we're missing for that to happen is the
we're missing.
bamboo.
No, what I could see is Ryan's like, this is my moment. I'm going to run up the wall. He just starts going, the headset's not long enough.
Break my ankle on the way to the wall. I don't even get there. Yes.
So in case the 1-star didn't give it away, we're talking about Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon,
Squatting Dog.
So I got to say, when I was looking at the 1-star reviews, right, I was like, the first one, I was like, man, this is really good. And I started typing it in. And I was like, it feels lazy to just stop at the first one. I should go to the next one. I was like, oh, this next one's a banger. And he wrote paragraphs.
It sounds like it.
Whenever you find someone that's angry, they will gladly tell you the world.
Oh, they will.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started to write a very bad review of a food truck one time, and like when I got to like the 8th paragraph, I stopped and I go, I'm deleting this.
That's normally what happens to me. Right. Like if I have because that's the thing is like because I've been working in the service industry for a very long time.
Yeah,
and if you have a good experience, you're going to tell one person. If you have a bad experience, you're going to tell 10.
Yeah, you go on Yelp, 1-star review, blast it to the world.
Oh yeah. But like I never review good things unless it is so exemplary.
Yeah.
There's no reason for me to because I'm like, well, it's good. I don't need to write a review.
Right.
Which sucks because all the people that like do good stuff are like, why is no one leaving reviews?
As someone that lives and dies on reviews on my Etsy shop, please leave a review.
Or, our podcast. This is a good moment to mention, please leave us a review if you like this.
That is one heck of a segue.
No one leaves us reviews. Please, if you like it, leave the
best
review.
Reviews, though, are when people are like, this is incredible. It absolutely changed my life. 4 out of 5 stars.
Yeah.
What does it take to get 5?
No.
Find your wife for you?
Absolute perfection. 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah.
You're like, what?
Oh, all right. Reel it back in. So, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, released in the year 2000.
Yes.
A buck wild time for cinema.
It really was.
Yeah.
And we just came off The Matrix in 1999.
The turn of the century.
Turn of the millennium.
Oh,
wow. Oh, that sounds way fancier.
Yeah, it does. Sounds way better. So directed by Ang Lee, known for Sense and Sensibility.
Yeah, oddly enough.
I know.
Yes.
I read that. I was like, wait, hold on. Really? Did he?
Yeah.
He did.
Then he's known for this, but
He's also known for this, yes.
Yes.
So this is based on the book of the same name by Chinese author. I'm gonna butcher a lot of names.
Do what you gotta do.
Yeah, Chinese names are pretty tough.
They're tough. But this is by Wang Dulu.
Okay.
So this is part of his Crane Iron Pentology.
Oh, okay. So that's 5.
This is the 4th book of 5 books.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which I thought was interesting. I was like, why didn't we just start with
you
one?
pick the 5th?
Yeah.
Or the 4th book?
Maybe because it's the best story or something. I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know. Maybe it had just a cooler name.
It makes me want to read the other books though, because I would love to have like a young Li Mu Bai. Like,
yeah, well, it does make sense though. If like just because like when you're going into this story, it does feel like you're entering in the middle of like this overarching.
Well, you have an established relationship between our main characters.
Yes,
right? Like they've been through the battles with each other. It'd be cool to see those battles though. Also,
it would be,
but it's good to also have that developed right off the bat, right?
Yeah.
So this is starring Chow Yun-fat, Michelle Yeoh, Zizi Zhang, and Shang Chen. So that's like the 4 main people here.
Yeah.
Music is by Dun Tan, who worked on Hero as well. If we're going martial arts here.
Yeah.
He was actually awarded a Oscar for Best Original Score for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Crouching Tiger swept a lot.
It
got nominated for a lot of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
So I got conflicting articles on the budget. So it was either 15 or 17 million.
I think it was 17.
It depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
So the New York Times, like right off the bat, they said, "Hey, this was made for 15 million," and then other people were like, "Well, it was really 17." So whatever.
It's splitting hairs
Splitting
at that
hairs.
point because it had a hell of a take
So box office was 214 million
for
global.
$2,000.
For 2000. For 2000, the year $2,000. I'll take 214 million for $2,000. That is trade of a century. So yeah, that's quite a return on your initial investment right there. So boys, well, before I throw this over to your opinions, we got to go to the synopsis and we'll get some opinions off this.
Tell us.
So, quick synopsis on this film. A young Chinese warrior steals a sword from a famed swordsman and then escapes into a world of romantic adventure with a mysterious man.
That's kind of correct.
I feel like the synopsis watched half the film. They stopped.
I feel that the synopsis is actually kind of incorrect.
A little
it's
bit.
misleading. little misleading. It's a little weird too.
Yeah.
But I saw that and I was just like, oh, that's got to be.
It's probably
the
hard to
synopsis.
boil this one down to one sentence, though. You probably need like a little paragraph.
It
I would
is.
guess.
Well,
Like
and
this-
also you don't want to spoil.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to get too deep into it.
And you're like, oh, they steal a sword and then go off into a whirlwind adventure. Like, oh yeah, we didn't give anything really away.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
whirlwind is not the word I would
whirlwind
use.
is definitely not. Well,
A strong breeze of an adventure.
it's the La Croix
boy.
of adventure.
No, it's not that. That would be like somebody talking about an adventure. That would be the La Croix.
across the room in a cafeteria while you're like trying to load your tray up.
Yes.
Getting a hint of adventure.
Yeah.
Yes, just a little bit.
I think that guy might be talking about adventure over there. Yeah.
All right, well, let's get some opinions in here. Some spoiler-free thoughts,
Yeah.
if you will.
So I like this film. I remember watching it when it came out in theaters and being wowed just by the amount of like artistry and the choreography and stuff for the action scenes.
It's a very different feel.
Yes. However, this is also one of those films where the action scenes are very exhilarating. There's a lot of the other part of the film where if you are not, I'll say, primed for this kind of Chinese cinema, it is going to be incredibly slow.
This is like Chinese theater, Chinese opera.
It's a long form storytelling. There's really not a lot of like engaging dialogue. If that makes any sense.
I think that's an accurate statement.
I'd push back a little on that.
Well, I'm not saying that the
They're not yelling at each other all the time.
No, it's not. Now, if we've been conditioned, right? It's 2023.
Yeah.
We've been conditioned. We want some Marvel quippy banner. There's no quippy banner.
No, it's very subtle
There's
humor.
no
There's like
snappy.
No, that's not to say that the story is bad. It's just if you go into this going like thinking that it's going to be an action film like The Matrix.
oh right, yeah.
Then it
you're
is
also
not that.
you're in for a
No,
shock. on that
definitely
one.
not.
Yeah.
No.
Well, because like I really think that that's why this movie was so good, or why it was so popular over here, was because The Matrix primed a lot of the U.S. audience for like kind of more larger than life martial arts films. Which this definitely fits that bill, and it came out right after it. But it definitely has one of those kind of things where, like, I'm still really surprised that the U.S. market latched onto this film so much.
Right.
So I think it helps too. The fight choreographer for The Matrix is also the fight choreographer
right.
for,
And it's
and
phenomenal.
they promoted that.
Yes.
Like basically from the guy who brought you the fights in The Matrix. Like I remember that being in like, the
trailers.
advertising. Yeah.
Except there's only 4 fights in this one, and they're all fantastic, but there's only 4.
So I love this movie.
Yeah.
I saw this junior year, 2000. Drove myself to the theater. I'm an old man.
Oh boy. Is that a learner's permit?
No, I would have been 16 by then. Yeah, so I remember going into this movie.
Now, you have already been into like martial arts films
Right.
by this point.
Yeah, so I had seen a lot of what was available in America at the time. A lot of Jackie Chan, all the Bruce Lee stuff.
Yeah.
And I hadn't really gotten into a lot of the older, like the 70s.
But the Hong Kong.
Yeah. Well, when they used to do a lot of the wire work that
Yes.
they kind of do in an elevated form here, you know, in the lower budget 70s,
Yeah.
wushu stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hadn't really watched a lot of that because, again, it wasn't available anywhere really to watch it easily. But I was aware of it. Like I knew that it existed, just hadn't been able to find a movie to watch or whatever.
Yeah.
And I knew going into this movie what more or less what it was.
Kind of what it was. Yeah.
But I think this may not be the first, but it was probably one of, if not the first, like real foreign movie I watched, like as a teenager. Like I remember it was fully subtitled. It's really essentially a drama.
Yes.
It's not an action movie.
Yeah.
Right.
It has action in it, but it's a drama.
Yeah. And like I love it. I love the story. I love the characters. I love everybody's performance.
Well, I love a lot of the performances because they're very nuanced, and you really get to see Michelle,
understated.
like a younger Michelle Yeoh, just really acting really quite well.
She's really good because my only exposure to her before this was Super Cop, Police Story 3. And so I liked Michelle Yeoh, and I'd seen her in Tomorrow Never Dies.
Yeah.
I was gonna say like tomorrow is right there.
Yeah. But like she wasn't in a ton of stuff that I was available to see.
Both of those roles are not dramatic roles.
No, and so I remember walking away very impressed, and I had seen I think by that point Hard Boiled with Chow Yun-fat, but I had not seen. I think Bulletproof Monk came out after this.
Bulletproof Monk came out after.
Yeah. But like this was also the first time I'd seen him in a dramatic role. Because I was like, Chow Yun-fat? Like, how's he gonna like
Yeah, he does fantastic.
Because he's the quippy action guy, you know. And so to go into it and be I was thoroughly impressed with both of their performances. And then Zhang Ziyi, is that her name? Ziyi Zhang? Jen?
Ziyi Zhang.
Ziyi Zhang. Okay. That was the first time I'd seen her.
She just plays Jen. Easy. Jen.
And even though like her character is like
the worst,
the
absolute worst.
I love her performance. Like I think she does really good.
She does a fantastic job
all the time.
Yeah. So for me, I remember walking out of the theater just like floored. And some of the people that I went with weren't impressed. They were very bored because they saw the trailer that's like from the choreographer of The Matrix, and they thought it was going to be just like
balls,
fight. You know. But
it's
me and like
that,
3 or 4 others did enjoy it, you know, because I think it all depended on if you knew what it was going into it. Was a large amount of
it is a very like nuanced story drama that just has some incredible action in it, but the action is not the point of the film.
No, it's in service of what's happening, really. Whereas I feel like there's a lot of other, especially like most action movies, it's like the plot is there to set up the next action scene type thing. This is not that way.
Yeah. Stephen, what do you think?
So I'm not in love with this film. I'll be straight up.
Sure.
I saw it in theaters back in the day. Man, this swept through the U.S. like wildfire. Right?
Yeah.
And we were primed for it, like you said. Matrix primed us for this. And, but yeah, it was one of the first really big foreign films to make it, in theater.
A splash.
And it's straight up like, hey, it's subtitled, deal with it America, which is not typical.
Because in the second, the Sword of Destiny the sequel to this film was done in English.
Yeah, which I never watched all of it because
it wasn't that good.
I started it and got like, I don't know, 10 minutes in, and I was like, why was this done in English?
Well, because they wanted it to be towards Western. Anyway, sorry.
That really worked out for them, didn't it?
No.
It didn't. Yeah.
Which there is an English dub now for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
But why would you watch it?
Why would you ever?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've actually, the thing is, I didn't realize that they have done one since.
Yeah.
So, of course, we just watched it subtitled because that was how as far as I know, that's the way the film exists.
I think that's the way you should probably watch it anyways.
Probably, but I would have been intrigued because I've seen this before to have been like, let's throw on the dub and be like, oh no. Or, you never know. Like, oh, okay, yeah. All right.
I'd be interested to know if like Chow Yun-fat and Michelle Yeoh, if they did their own
just do their
English
own
dubs.
Yeah,
probably not.
Yeah, like did they just get like a dub house to like do it?
Probably, yeah. Although I did notice in some trivia that they put a lot of effort to matching the English dub to how they're actually speaking.
Oh, interesting.
So there was
they had to rewrite dialogue essentially to make that happen.
Yeah.
So like I don't love the film just because it's 2 hours long. But boy, it feels like 3 hours.
Really? See, when I finished it this most recent time,
because film just goes.
I haven't watched this probably in over a decade.
I haven't watched it forever. Yeah.
And like when it ended, I was like, I thought this movie was like 3 hours long, and I got up and I was like, it's only 2 hours. It's already over. I was like, wow. I felt the opposite, but that's probably just because I'm remembering it feeling long from the last time I saw it.
This is definitely one of those where there's a there's a flashback interlude that takes place a lot longer than I expect it to every single time.
I forget
and I'm
how
like,
long that goes.
This happens for a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, settle in.
Yeah.
It's like a 40-minute flashback in the middle of the film.
It's a really long flashback.
It's not good for the. We're trying not to give anything too much away, but it's not good for the pacing.
The pacing definitely suffers for it. I think if they would have put that at the beginning of the film as just this is the kind of the backstory, because you do get a little bit of
break it
action.
up across the film. If we get this in 5-minute snippets, it's not so bad. Okay, we're back in the flashback. Okay,
and that's kind of where I think a lot of the issue with me comes in is that like they could have edited the film a little bit better to have it's not a non-cohesive story, but just to make it a little bit more engaging for people that aren't primed for this kind of film.
Well, I wondered too, like how much of that was in the book, and maybe they stuck to like the book format, or like maybe the influence of like a Chinese opera style storytelling of maybe that's how they would, you change the set, you do this whole thing. The
second act is
then you come back.
And then when you're done, we do the new set, because you can't just run around and change sets midstream here. So how this works.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, there's, obviously the film still did fantastically well in the U.S. I mean, like, there's a reason why, like, everyone knows the name of Crouching Tiger.
They know the name.
Oh,
yeah, guaranteed. Even if you haven't seen it, if someone says it, like, oh, that's the one where they fly around.
Yeah. And this really spurred on a whole slew of other martial arts films, of like wushu style films. You have House of Flying Daggers, Hero,
Fearless,
Forbidden Kingdom.
Yeah.
Just so many different ones that came because of the success from here. So that's fantastic, because you do get a little bit more exposure that way as the years go on.
I'm sure this was like midway through its theatrical run, and they were already green lighting. Like, what scripts do we have in the bin? Green light them. It's good. Go.
Weekend hit. They're like, we need more martial arts right now.
Yeah.
Which I don't think any of those really had the same level of success as this,
no.
whether commercial or critical. But they still definitely happened, and there's some pretty good stuff in there.
Yeah.
I remember Hero's
being
pretty good, and especially because they do the different colors for the different perspectives of the story on that one. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I don't remember a lot of House of Flying Daggers. I need to rewatch that one.
I feel that one was a lot more style over substance.
I feel like
I kind of like I only seen it once, and I remember like kind of watching it, and I'm like, this is exactly what Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is not about. Because it's like it really felt a lot like
this is the anti-Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
But again, it's been a long time since I've seen it.
This is the Hidden Tiger, Crouching Dragon.
Yes. Picture yourself soaring through an endless bamboo forest. Now imagine
in your face.
Instead of bamboo, those are podcast episodes. You're soaring amongst an endless sea of content.
Can you balance on a podcast episode?
You can't. On ours, you can. The best way to try to test your balance is to go to spoilersintendedpodcast.com.
Yeah, you got it right.
Yeah, I got it right. Right there, at that place, you can get links to all of our stuff, including previous episodes, links to our Patreon, and our Discord.
Yeah.
Yes, you can jump in and join us on Discord, hang out with us, along with other fellow fans, fellow listeners.
Yes.
Where we talk about all kinds of things, whether it be what we're watching or discussions about episodes.
What we're eating.
Cooking, pets.
Yep. Pets, all the pets.
Hobbies, lots of hobbies.
Yep. We also have socials. We have two, count them two. We have Facebook and Instagram. We don't have X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it. And
Twitter.
We try and post every week about what we're going to be reviewing. We have teasers, where you can watch it, that kind of stuff. You should absolutely check it out.
And we're back. We have gracefully scaled the spoiler wall and soared over it into the fields of bamboo. They threw a couple of roof tiles down while we were on the way up.
Clink, clink, clink.
I love that part of the film.
She just tossed it like a frisbee.
Yeah. Are those not nailed down, or are they just sitting there the whole time?
They're definitely not nailed down.
That character Bo, The guy that gets the shingles thrown at him. I love that guy. Throughout the whole movie, he's just like trying to do good and getting in the way.
such a
And
putz.
Always getting in the
Such a
way.
putz.
he's my guy.
All right. Well, we are solidly beyond spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled, too late. We already did it to you, but get out.
Yep.
Get out.
Get out. So let's kick this off with a little trivia.
Trivia.
We're gonna kick this off with the most no duh trivia ever.
Hit me.
Actors perform their own stunts.
Yes, they
No
did.
duh.
Michelle Yeoh actually basically took a whole year off of work so she could prepare for this
Stealing-
role.
Yeah.
So one, you're stealing my trivia. I don't appreciate it. Two,
I'm
you're-
sorry. I just like Michelle Yeoh.
Two, you're not presenting the trivia in its full nature.
Oh.
Yes, you ruined it.
Yeah. So she didn't just take a whole year off to concentrate on her training. She's also learning Mandarin.
Yes, yeah, because she's Malaysian.
She's Malaysian. Yeah, she's not a native speaker.
Gotcha.
So funnily enough, all of the four primary characters, none of them speak Mandarin with the same accent as each other.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
So in China itself, there were markets where they were dubbing the film
Oh, wow.
To be the proper
better,
pronunciation.
Yeah.
easier
and
to be understood by the audience there. When it's like, well, they're all technically speaking the language. It's just like having someone with a West Coast accent talking to a Boston guy, and then here's the Southerner.
Then you have
a
like
Canadian guy walks in.
Well, see, then
Technically
you,
it's all
you have
English,
the
Australian,
Southeast,
yeah.
and then you have Cajun. Everyone's speaking English.
So yeah, they had some of that going on.
Now I want a movie like
Now,
this.
no, hold on. This is it.
I want like a
We make an American martial arts movie, okay? We got a guy from New Jersey, and some dude from Saskatchewan. We got a Cajun. We got some guy from L.A. And then we got like an Australian, Irishman.
Oh gosh. So speaking of training, Michelle Yeoh actually tore her ACL during an early fight sequence.
Dang.
And had to be flown to the U.S. for knee surgery.
Oh wow.
And then spent her recovery filming non-action scenes while her knee healed. So they kind of do the trick. So I imagine a lot of sequences where they're like at a table talking. She probably has a
Yeah.
huge cast.
Yeah, probably.
A giant walking boot or whatever going on.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, here we go. For the boldest claim possible here, the first
boy.
draft of the screenplay said, this is printed in the screenplay, "You will note that none of the fight scenes are described, and I will just inform you now that they will be the greatest fight scenes ever in the history of cinema."
Nice.
There are some serious claims going on in here.
I mean,
Good note.
he hit it pretty well. The bar fight is just incredible.
Oh, yeah, I love that
it's
one.
so good.
that's a good, and that's also a classic like martial arts, especially like a 70s
It's
era
very
martial
trope.
arts fight.
Yeah.
Of, we're gonna fight in the bar.
In the bar.
Well, and I think one of my favorite moments is whenever she is on the first floor and then she jumps up to the
the
second floor and
spin.
does the spin.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
See, what I love about it is that it's just, again, and I don't know what tropes there may be in, so like China for, we have a fight in the bar,
Right.
but it feels very much so like it's the Eastern Western, right? Because all Westerns, you have the showdown in the bar.
Yeah. Right.
That's the first confrontation. So it's like, this is what's happening, but this is the Eastern version of it.
Yeah, well, and then you really see kind of the same stuff that happens in like Ip Man, where you have all of the different schools of martial arts show up to try and
Right.
pride, whatever you want to call it, to try and stop her from just being her.
That's just a fun scene.
It's great. Yeah,
and she's just being she's just sipping the tea, looking out, blocking that dude with one hand,
so disrespectful.
So she actually had no martial arts training prior to the film.
Okay.
But did have, I don't know if it's like classical or what, but dance
Like
training.
ballet maybe
So
or
she
something?
treated, which is also Michelle Yeoh's background.
Yeah.
yeah.
But she treated it as a dance, which is actually pretty fair because it's really how fight choreography is.
Yes.
In a movie, it's not you actually punch through this dude.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Why
Yeah.
don't you go up just to challenge, just punch him in the nose.
Particularly wushu martial arts too, because it is very
It's a very flow.
acrobatic and very flowy. It's not meant to be like Ip Man, where he's
Right.
just literally punching a dude machine gun style.
Yeah,
in the face.
So Dun Tan, our composer,
Playing a
only,
drum on his face.
only had 2 weeks to compose and record the musical score.
Why? What happened?
I don't know. I couldn't find anywhere where it would tell me what was going on. It was like, did he just like, they sent him a message. He's like, hey, can you put this in? He's like, yeah, sure, no problem. And then he just like, I'm going to go do something else. I'm going to go
Listen,
fishing.
we rented
were-
the instruments for 2 weeks only. You gotta
Look,
get in
this
here.
was when they were at $16,800,000 budget.
Yeah, no kidding.
And they're like, we need music.
We need music.
Yeah. Well, I think we got everything. Oh, we forgot about the soundtrack. The music.
So the scenes that
The
were
movie
shot,
comes out in 2 weeks.
the scenes shot in the Gobi Desert were constantly interrupted by rain.
No, watch this.
The most random moment of, hey, so we're gonna go out to the desert, yeah? So what's the problem? We can't shoot it. We'll stop raining.
We didn't plan for this.
That's actually pretty incredible.
That's pretty hilarious. I laughed. Yeah. So final fact here. So this film is set in the year 1778.
Okay.
Which is based on when Michelle Yeoh's character enters Beijing, or Peking as they were calling it in the film. The stamp on her, essentially passport, when she enters the gates, has the date.
Okay.
So
That's kind of crazy that the U.S. was already here.
it's a little weird, actually, because it feels
is
very
weird.
old.
It feels very old.
Ancient.
It feels way more old than that. I would have guessed like
1600s.
They're
16, 15.
telegram machines are running right now.
I know.
While they're doing this. It's like, what the heck?
We've been fighting a war.
Yeah.
Yeah, the French are just
If
everywhere.
only the American Revolution could have had wushu. George Washington just jumping tree to tree.
He's
never
running
known.
across the Delaware on top of each other.
Just do that hop on the water she does at the end. Just pa, pa. Powdered wig just flapping in the wind.
The redcoats are marching through a New England forest, and just the trees start rustling.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no!
All right, I'm already writing another movie in my head. Okay, here we go.
I just imagine like all the Minutemen just like trouncing down on top of.
See, this is why they were called Minutemen. They could travel so fast because they could fly.
They're just all throwing shingles down.
That was a chief complaint of our 1-star reviewer. It was like, if you could do this, imagine how quickly they could just travel. You just fly.
I thought you were about to say that was a chief complaint of the Revolutionary War.
These guys are too fast. They're getting everywhere in a minute. It was like a derogatory term. These Minutemen.
Oh my God.
Ridiculous. So back to Crouching Tiger.
All right, well, we're fired up on this
That
one.
was incredible.
Oh, let's see what we got left here in trivia.
Anything else good? Any juicy trivia?
So Jet Li was originally offered the role of Li Mu-bai,
Yeah.
Okay.
but he turned it down.
Okay.
It actually fits his, like, the type of person that he plays pretty well.
In most of his films. Yeah, I
Yeah.
could see why they'd be like, Jet Li would be good for this.
I'm having trouble picturing it just because Chow Yun Fat
And
is.
Italian Fat just does such a good job.
Yeah.
So they actually had to create a 3D model of Chow Yun Fat with his head shaved in that manner to convince him to shave his hair for the role.
Oh, really? He's like, I'm not doing it.
No, he was like, I'm gonna look stupid. I'm not doing this.
It's a bold choice.
It is a unique hairstyle. It helps that there's a lot of other people on set with the same hairstyles.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because if it was just like, hey, we just have modern hair, and then Chow Yun Fat walks and is like, what is wrong with this dude?
Yeah.
You got like the mange
Well, I mean,
or something?
he was from the Wudon school, and
Yeah.
so,
We got hair gel back on the mountain. You guys haven't heard of this yet? It's 1779 or whatever.
Yeah, what's the time we think this is? The 1600s?
He's dabbing in the corner. What's happening?
But it is actually kind of interesting too, going on like the whole year thing, is how, because we'll get into this, I'm sure, about the sets, but how much time and thought they put into it.
Yeah.
So that stamp, right? It's not just, hey, it just says 1778. It like establishes, hey, she's entering the city basically like late June, early July. When we have the initial scene with Jen stealing the sword and the Watchman's running around, going around like banging the sticks.
Yeah.
So he's counting the time, like when this is going on. So you can actually tell what time the theft is happening.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so like they point out, hey, if they had shown because there would have been like an hour, basically he's establishing it's the second watch, which starts around 9 p.m.
Yeah.
And like there's another person who would have been tapping out basically the hour and minute within the watch. Like if they had shown that, you could tell like, hey, she stole this at like 9:57.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, despite it being a fictional China in a lot of ways,
Right.
It's very, very accurate.
it's very accurate in other ways. It's
Yeah.
just really crazy.
Well, like I really think that shows because of just how detailed the world that they're kind of in feels.
Oh yeah, it feels very real.
Yes.
Well, I think that
despite
was
people flying.
another thing I took away from it in 2000, leaving the theater, was like, I don't think I had seen before this movie a period piece set in China.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and so like for me, so much of it.
I don't even think you could really count like any Jackie Chan films as period films because they're kind of comedies.
They are, yeah.
And like you typically see, the small town village.
Yeah.
For him, you
Yeah.
don't see, like this is like the governor's palace or compound.
Right.
You don't see that style. When you see that style of architecture, like, hey, I have a pretty good idea. We're in China and a pretty decent idea of roughly what period we're in.
Yeah.
And like they went hard on sets, costumes.
Oh, yeah. Like everything I remember, especially the first viewing, just being impressed with like how like detailed the sets were. Like, not understanding like, did they just find a village that looked like this, or a town still intact? Because like it's so sprawling and like they use very little CG with like a lot of the town, like some of the overhead. But like when they're walking around, there's not like, this is before they were doing set extensions, with CG.
Yeah,
and
no,
stuff.
it's like the set is the set.
It's the set. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, most of the CGI that was used in the film was just to remove the wires for the action sequences.
Yeah.
It's funny though, you were talking, did they just walk around and find a town that looked like this? Because there's a lot of cities and towns in China that have pretty old historical, I don't want to call them monuments, because like if you go to Xi'an, they still have their city wall is still intact from feudal style era.
Oh, yeah. And it's very similar in like Japan and everything like that. Like you go to Kyoto, like there are still just buildings that look
500
like they're
years old.
Yeah, it's just old.
So I wonder if they found a mixture of like actual, architecture and then built sets around it, maybe, or
quite possibly, yeah.
They probably wouldn't let her run up and throw the shingles off.
Probably not. Yeah.
She can't see them well out.
It's fine. Go ahead.
That's a 500-year-old building. What are you doing?
Those shingles are older than your great great grandfather. So other thoughts? I mean, obviously we're gushing on some scenery here.
Yeah.
So I feel like, again, I really love this movie, but I think a lot of that just stems from like, I loved it the first time I saw it because it was so different from anything I had seen before. Again, I can't remember exactly, but it may have been the first, like, I don't want to call it art house, but like foreign film that's like all subtitled.
That's the thing. It's like emphatically foreign.
Right.
Like it's unapologetic about it.
It's unapologetic.
It's very
about it.
unique for that time.
It is.
Yeah.
And that's like every time I think about this film of like how it entered the Western zeitgeist of just popular media, where it like we latched onto it so hard, where it's like it's very surprising that it was this film, because like this film, by all accounts, like from everything that I like looking at it from an outside perspective of like knowing how like the U.S. market kind of like looks at films
and how they react to most
to most films, especially around then. This was like not the film that you would pick and be like, oh, this is going to be the one.
This is it, right?
Well, also, and I think it was so different. I think that's really what makes it stand out. Is it was so unique, so different.
Yeah.
Obviously, it got a ton of nominations at the Oscars. It's the only martial arts film to ever be nominated for Best Picture.
Right. Yeah.
Didn't win, but nominated.
But I remember
it's still really good
when they nominated it, being like, what? Because again, as someone who was already a fan of Hong Kong action movies and kung fu and stuff, and to see this movie coming out and having hype for it, seeing it and being like, this is so different, like this is wild, and then it got nominated. I was like, really? And just seeing the success of it surprised me too at the time.
It's kind of like I actually really think that movies like The Matrix and then this is also what helped pave the way for like Spirited Away the next year to get nominated for Best Picture, Animated Picture, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's like if you don't have these kind of succession things happening, like you don't have a lot of like what our popular media looks at now.
Yeah.
Just because like we probably wouldn't have had like Hero and like all these other martial art wushu style.
We almost certainly wouldn't have had Hero.
Yeah, I think
not to the scale or even to like the Western release of Hero kind of thing.
Yeah, and those movies may have already been in production, but like they wouldn't have gotten a wide U.S. release probably if this hadn't done well.
Or you wouldn't have a studio or a distributor showing up saying, "Hey, we'll distribute this in North America," or whatever, right?
So like for me, I was just gonna say like the thing that sets it apart. We've talked about the action; it's very good.
It's great,
especially the fight with Michelle Yeoh with Shu Lin and Jen, like that in the headquarters, like when she's swapping all the weapons,
all the different weapons.
That's really the climax of the film. Like everything else that happens after that, like you have the emotional climax with Michelle Yeoh and Chow Yun-fat.
Yeah,
but like the action climax is that scene, because like even the fight, quotation marks, of them going through the bamboo isn't even a fight.
No, it's more of a chase. But for me,
But every time Chow Yun-fat confronts her, right, he's so far beyond her that it's not a fight, it's an education. He's educating her. He's trying to bend her to direct her skills in a better way, right? So for them, it's never a confrontation. Whereas for Michelle Yeoh, when they fight, especially because she has the Green Destiny, she's so far above Michelle Yeoh's character that it's a real scrap. I mean, they are going at it in that fight.
And you have the emotional stakes of their friendship basically coming to an end.
Right.
Because, Jen is just the worst.
Oh, man, when Michelle Yeoh goes off on her and she's like, I knew it was you from the get, girl. Yeah. I covered for you to help your family. Like, she just starts listing like all the stuff she's done. And it's just like.
And like the petulant child she is. Jen's
I know.
Like, nah, I'm going to do my own thing.
Man. And like she has that certain expression to her face. She's just like, oh, man, I tell you, if you were my daughter, there would be
a very punchable face.
Going
sometimes.
out back, it'd be a paddling. Like,
Well, and then you still have where Michelle Yeoh does get the best of her.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like, yield. And she's like, nah. I'm like, ugh.
Oh, no. You're like, you've had every chance to just like be cool for 10 seconds. But beyond the fights, like I think for me, the thing that like keeps me coming back to this story is the love story between Lee Mu-bai and Shu-lin.
Oh, 100%.
Like, I cry every time when it gets to the end and they finally admit their feelings for each other. Because the whole time you're like, just say what you feel. Run away. Who cares about the Green Destiny? Go live in the woods. Like, have the fun life.
You can go live in the clouds. You can fly.
Yeah, well, do it.
The thing that I really like about their whole relationship is at the beginning when he's like, well, I'm going to give up the Green Destiny. And you don't know anything beyond
context.
No context. But you can still like, she's like, why are you going to give it up? He's like, there's stuff I still want to like
I want to do.
Yeah. And like, like it's because of her.
Well, once you get the Green Destiny to Surte, and he's talking with Shu-lin about it, and then it's like, we're getting a little more here. But so my chief complaint about the film, right, would be that is kind of the core story, is that love story.
Yes.
And we spend the whole middle of the film looking at anything but it.
That's actually my biggest problem is I really think that if they would have interspersed or put pretty much the whole backstory with Jen and Lo's character all pretty much at the beginning or interspersed instead of just a big block in the middle. It would have probably helped with the pacing and kind of maybe some empathy towards her character.
A little bit.
If they had given us a little better picture of where she's coming from, that would have helped.
Because up until you even get to that point, you're just like, what is your deal, girl?
Right.
Like, what are you doing?
But see, I would worry that doing it that way, like, I feel like you need those early scenes with Lee Mu-bai and Shu-lin in order to get on board with that.
Yeah,
because if you cut that up too much with the other stuff, I feel like it might like. The impact at the end wouldn't hit like it does. But I don't know. We're theorizing on an edit that doesn't exist. But like,
hey, you have the tools. You have the ability.
I'll do it. No,
make it happen.
But for me too, the love story between Jen and Lo is like, it's fine. It's definitely it's definitely like
she's
also teenager.
She's also
type.
super petulant teenager in that too. I'm still not sympathizing with you. You're still a brat.
But for me, the reason I like. No, I'm not defending the middle part necessarily, but the reason I like the contrast between those two love stories is that you get to see a torrid young love affair that is all about just lust and like passion and irresponsibility, and then you have this adult too responsible, people who are
respectable members of society
to a fault
that like accepted that they're casts in the system. Of I have, this is what I do. I don't have the ability to become a bride or have love, whatever.
Well, and you see the contrast of both of those, and you see her telling Shu-lin all the time, "I'm so jealous of you," and Shu-lin's like, "Well, it's not like I'm out here just doing whatever I want." Like
I still have responsibilities. I gotta pay my bills.
So I like that those two stories are so diametrically opposed because it draws further like it just makes you realize how ridiculous Chow Yun-fat and Shu-lin or Lee Mu-bai are for not just saying they like each other.
So I can just see Shu-lin be like, "What are you talking about? Freedom. I just carried a sword halfway across China on a cart. Lady, I can fly. You think I did that by choice?"
Yeah, exactly. So the plot though, right? Like overall, I like it, obviously.
Yeah.
I think too, it's another reason it was so different at the time was number one, the love story is like so distinctly Chinese in that, like, in America, especially it's in the year 2000, we were not used to this, like, well, my fiance died 30 years ago, I can't remarry. I'm like, what?
America identifies with the other, the petulant teenager.
Right. The petulant teenager's like, oh yeah, got it.
They're like, oh, okay, yeah, Beauty and the Beast. I can get on that.
Yeah, they're totally they're like, as soon as that interaction starts, like, every American's like, oh, they're going to bang, aren't they?
Yeah.
But, you know, it's that, but that kind of thing is like you have this really well nuanced love story that, like, it's kind of one of those things where, like, even like 3/4 of the way through the film, like, there's still no guarantee that they're ever going to, it's just going to be unrequited love.
Right. Yeah.
Because of they both understand their roles and what they have to do.
Well, and I like too that the plot device of the Green Destiny is it's the MacGuffin that kind of kicks things off. It kind of continues to propel, and it's such a cool sword.
Yeah.
So it like it's the coolest MacGuffin in that, like, I want to see it every time it's on screen, and then like you keep hearing about how cool the sword is, and then when you see her finally start to use it, and you're like, man, this sword's really cool. And especially when Sir Tay or whatever like slices that bowl.
Yeah.
Like with just nothing, and you're like, oh man, this sword's legit.
This is a real sword.
So that's actually brings me to another point of like a little bit of contention is the fact that it takes like a good 20 to 25 minutes before literally anything action-y happens in the film.
Well, it's not an action film.
Well, it's not an action film. Like, that's like, I'm not complaining about it. It's really more on the lines of, again, I'm still so surprised that everyone loved this film back then. Because there's like within like what the first 5 to 10 minutes of The Matrix, you have 1 or 2 fight scenes.
I don't think it's that soon.
There's a
It's
fight
like,
at the start of the
Is it?
You're revealed with Trinity.
Oh yeah,
at the
yeah, that's
start.
right, that's right, yeah.
Shit, they do bullet time like in the first 3
I was
minutes
thinking
of the
after,
film.
yeah.
Like,
right,
so you have like you're like right, like going 60 miles an hour right at the start,
right.
and this is like we're just gonna turn on the engine and we're gonna drive a little bit.
I would say too, though, that like the actual trend of like getting the action out really soon, didn't really become like the thing.
It wasn't really a thing until probably late 2010s.
Mid 2000s.
Inciting incident is like one of the core pieces of
No.
Western
But there's
storytelling.
a lot of older action movies and stuff that when you watch it, like the first 20 minutes is set up for this big bang of an action scene. Like,
well,
it's like
I mean, like Predator.
Yeah, that's a lot of setup for the big action.
Okay, Predator's a good example because
Yeah.
you say something like that to me, and all I'm seeing
Terminator
is
also.
the
Terminator
start
was
of
a real slow
Last
build-up.
Crusade, where it's like
That was the 90s, but yeah, it's still before this.
it's a little before this still.
Yeah, it is. But like, it's not. I'm not saying that no action movie starts with a bang.
Yeah.
They're definitely, but they're. I don't think that like nowadays, 2023, you have an action movie. If you don't start immediately and grab people's ADD attention in the first
Well,
like
it's
30
attention
frames,
span play. Yeah,
you're done. You know. Yeah. So I think maybe it was because it was so different, and also because that wasn't just like the expected. Like everything has to start off immediately at the time, but. You're right with The Matrix. It does kick off.
it's like, and The Matrix got people because when it starts, you're like, oh, this is just kind of like current day, you know.
Yeah.
So is this like a spy thing, a heist thing? And then she jumps up into that kick, and everything pans and turns. She's like, hold on, what the heck's going on?
Yeah, that's also a very good. Like, this is what this movie is.
Yeah. So I'm gonna throw 2 questions at y'all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think for all 3 of us, right, it's been a while since we've seen this film.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Over a decade for me.
So
Yeah.
I want to hit you first. Give me the positives. What's something you love about it? And then the second piece I want you to give me is what's something that surprised you either because you didn't remember it or because it wasn't what you remembered it being.
So something I loved about it, I'll talk about the music a little bit. I think the music really makes a lot of these scenes like just
very
gel
hard,
together.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
especially the emotional, you know, like
especially at the end.
yeah.
Oh man.
And
It's some
the
good
music
stuff.
in the bamboo forest, like it's just so
It's very peaceful.
It matches the tone of what's happening. Like you said earlier, it's not really a fight.
It's not a fight.
No,
It's
yeah.
it's education.
Yeah, and so for me, like a lot of it was just like remembering and loving like how well the music gels with the visuals of what they were doing.
Yeah.
So I really liked I remember initially, like when I watched it a long time ago, I didn't like the Jade Fox as a character because like maybe I just didn't like understand like kind of like her whole deal.
The whole thing, yeah.
It was like, oh, she's literally just a killer. Got it.
Yeah.
Like, she's just awful.
Yeah.
And I really liked her interactions with Jen like throughout the film, just because like she's basically like gaslighting her, but then she's being reverse gaslighted by Jen the whole time.
The pilot light was reversed.
Yeah. And it's her realization at the end where Jen was playing her the whole time, basically, of just like, you've been my meal ticket. And I'm just, you know, like I've been a prodigy this whole time and I've kept everything from you because you're not worthy of whatever this was.
Right.
The teachings or whatever.
Yeah. And I love that little bit of nuance of like, clearly this person's a predator and an evil person. And then like having the tables turned on her is...
Well, see,
it's pretty cool. Yeah,
I'm gonna go one further with you on that because, see, I remember the Jade Fox as being the predator, evil person, right? But she, like in her confrontation with Limu Bai, like she spouts out, you know, like because his master refused to teach her because she's a woman.
Yeah,
he had no problem sleeping with her. He wouldn't teach her. So it was like, well, hold on now, like how evil, like we got a lot of like layers
there's some problems here.
Yeah, so like all of that started hitting like the midpoint of the film with Jade Fox, the police inspector. I was like, I don't remember any of this.
Yeah,
like there's a lot more layers in this than I recall. Like I remember just cool fights. There's a love story. There was another love story that was not as good.
To your second question of like what surprised me, I was gonna say how much I enjoyed and how impactful the secondary characters were. Like again, I really just remember the main characters, like Bo, my guy, and then the father and daughter, the police inspector and the daughter who are trying to get revenge. And I love Michelle Yeoh's, I guess it's her mother. The older lady that lives at the compound. And how excited she gets when like Limu Bai is coming at the end and she does that little turn at the end and she looks back at her. I'm like, this lady rules. I don't remember that much from the first
small interactions.
Well, I really think that's kind of where the story excels, is a lot of like the more nuanced storytelling of just the site, because like you do have like the overarching story, which is fine, but then you have like all the tertiary stuff that happens with the extra little details here and there that is extra world building. You don't have to give us, you know, lines of exposition to tell us that this person cares for this person or anything like that, because they just show it.
Right.
But only in like one little bit. And if you're not paying attention, there's still other stuff happening in the scene. But if you are paying attention, it just adds just one more layer of complexity to the story.
Yeah.
Well, it's also stuff just like when you're kind of introduced to, I think it's the police inspector, but like they're pursuing the Jade Fox, and then just like Lo just like pops out around a corner. Like, who the heck is this dude?
Yeah, what's this guy doing?
How many people are skulking in these shadows right now, right?
So
security on this place is not very good.
Right. Back to you, Steven. So what is one thing that you loved about this, and what is one thing that surprised you that you didn't remember?
So one thing that I loved about this one is I haven't really seen younger Michelle Yeoh, right? Like going back from watching Everything Ever All at Once.
Yes.
Right? Obviously, she's phenomenal. She's a powerhouse.
Oh, yeah.
And you got to this, and you're like, yeah, this is like it's still there. It wasn't something she developed in the last 20 years. It's there.
She's always been.
She's always been like this. So I love that. I love watching that, and also having the thought midway through. So there was a scene in the early confrontation when the sword's stolen, right?
Yeah.
So it's Michelle Yeoh and Gigi.
Yeah.
Going at it, and they have a sequence where the camera focuses just on feet. And they're doing like the feats and everything. And like in my head, I was like, you know, this would be a great moment where they just like let the actors take a break. It was like, who are they going to replace Michelle Yeoh with here? Like you already have the best person for this purpose,
right?
So,
Yeah.
It's just one of those moments of like in a Western film, right?
Right. That would
this is the third body double and the stunt actor.
The second unit would have shot that on a Tuesday afterwards. Like,
well, and that I think that actually is just like another paramount to the talent that they have for this film, because like the whenever they're fighting for the second time with all the weapons and everything, there's like a couple like really long shots where there's definitely no cuts or anything.
They just let it go.
And they just let it happen, and some of the choreography that they put them through is just so intense.
Oh yeah,
and really well thought out, especially when you're dealing with weapons,
and especially using not only the weapons but the space, like the way they move around the room and how they're interacting with all that stuff is like really thought out.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, I definitely remembered the bamboo forest as being a little more than it was.
You may be thinking of another film.
I think so. I do think that I'm thinking of
House of Flying Daggers.
yes,
Yeah.
because I watching that sequence, I was like, I don't remember Chow Yun-fat looking like he is constantly just like, man, am I on this bamboo or not? Are these wires happy? Because he has a couple of moments where he's like, I don't trust this. Yeah. Like they're looking at each other trying to be serious, and his feet are just like, I need anything underneath me. For the love of God.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're thinking of one of the other, maybe Sword of Destiny or
one of those.
It's either Sword of Destiny, because
Yeah.
it's shot differently too. Like the angles are different because a lot of the angles in this fight are kind of looking up into the forest.
Yeah.
And of course, it's bamboo. It's just leaves everywhere.
What you're thinking of is when they're like
Over the top.
POV with the person.
It's not POV.
Well, not really POV, but like
it's above. Like it's a helicopter shot kind of thing. Yeah. So when I watched it, I was like, man, I don't remember this being like this. And then also watching him just kind of do like tippy toes there, where it's like, man, just put your feet somewhere. I don't care where they go. Yeah. It's really bothering me right now.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. Well, any final thoughts here?
Nope. I would rewatch it. I like this movie.
Rewatch it. So
I'd recommend it.
Who would you recommend it to? Is it
Anyone that likes martial arts films.
All right, there we go. That's
I would
good.
go a step further and say that, like, obviously anyone that likes martial arts films, but like I showed this to my wife for the first time, I don't know, I guess about a decade ago, before she was my wife. But she liked it a lot. But I think it's because she watches so many like Regency romance.
Well, so I was going to say, like, anyone that likes kind of historical romance dramas.
Forbidden. I'm from a different cast.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how Ang Lee pitched it to Michelle Yeoh. He's like, well, it's Sense and Sensibility with martial arts.
He's like, I directed that, by the way.
By the way, that's also my film, and
And also, I directed that. BT Dub. So I would also recommend it to people who, if you like that kind of a love story with like the forbidden, like
it's like an austere love. Yeah.
Yes. I would definitely recommend this to my mom because she loves historical dramas.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And she's a listener. So if she's listening to this, she gets all the way here, and she hasn't seen the movie for some reason.
Check it out.
Check it out.
Hi, Andrew's mom. This whole cast is dedicated to a specific recommendation right here.
Right here.
Alrighty. Well, on that note, it does sound like we have run out of all the time we have for this episode.
Fresh out.
We are fresh out. So before we let you go, we got to promote a little Patreon.
Sure.
Yeah.
For just $1 a month. $1, you can get access to all of our bonus content.
Yeah.
Sometimes that includes, but if not limited to.
This sounds like a legal disclaimer. Hold on. Take another run at this like you are pitching the content. Now you're giving somebody a root canal.
So we have bonus episodes
Yeah.
like, Presidential Fight Club. We have candy tier list for Halloween candy.
Oh, I got so sick after that
It's not a
episode.
good episode.
We also have some awesome stuff like talking about
We got commentaries.
but comfort food movies is probably one of my favorite ones that
That is
we've
a good
done.
one. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like we also have a ton of extra stuff, commentaries.
There's a lot of good stuff there on the Patreon. It's just $1 a month.
Just $1.
Helps out the show, helps us keep the lights on, pay those hosting fees.
Yes.
Among many other things. We appreciate all our patrons. Love you so much.
We really do.
But with that all being said, one final little shout out here. If you would, follow us on social, leave us a review, share us with a friend. But until next time, I'm Steven.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Ryan.
And every spoiler was intended.